Hello, and welcome back to Fashion and Founders, the podcast. My name is Victoria Smith, and this week I'm joined with Nicole Reisman, Director of Influencer Marketing and Events at Dolce Vita. This was recorded at the beginning of the summer, so apologies ahead of time if anything about announcements is a bit out of date. But all of her advice is just so good, and it's really a content masterclass from 4 different angles. The first one, if you are an aspiring influencer or content creator, she talks about what it's like for Dolce Vita to work with influencers, how they approach people, how they want to be approached, industry standards, and how to get involved with brands. Second is the brand perspective. What do they have the budget for? Who do they look for campaigns? How do they look? What tools do they use? Really valuable if you're a business owner. The third is if you are a small creator or business owner with a very specific niche. For example, if you are a florist, a baker, you do tablescapes. Nicole was talking about how she finds people to collaborate with Dolce Vita on events, somebody with a very specific craft or niche, in a way that you can collaborate with a big brand, get that name recognition, and honestly have a brand with a bigger budget maybe help you with a project. And the last and fourth category is the career perspective. If you want to be in a career like Nicole's, if you want to be working in the management side, director side of influencer marketing or events as well, how she approaches things, her tips, what she's learned. She's been at Dolce Vita for 8 years. So maybe you want to work at Dolce Vita because clearly it has a good company culture if she stayed for that long. Nicole being able to provide insight on these 4 different perspectives is so valuable, and why this episode is an hour long. She was an amazing person to talk to and gave really honest advice, as well as being able to offer a holistic view of how influencer marketing has changed over the course of the past decade and where she thinks it is going. Whatever category you may fall into, there is something for you to learn here and take away. I'm so thankful for Nicole for coming onto the podcast. I'll let her take it from here. So let's get into the episode. Okay, and this week's brand highlight is the brand LEG's ice cream. You'll hear about this later on in the episode as well. But the founder, Ellie, shared with me, an ice cream brand based in NYC, LEG's is all about generous mix-ins and seasonal flavors inspired by fresh ingredients. Every batch is crafted with love and with the focus on community. Customers keep coming back for more. Currently only operating in New York, there are monthly drops that are either seasonal flavors or a brand collab, creating a flavor that represents both the brand and LEG's. She did a summer collaboration with J. Crew doing a blueberry pie ice cream, and it looked so good. Past flavors have included s'mores campfire crunch, red velvet cookie dough, pumpkin cinnamon graham, peppermint bark brownie, and so many more that I am dying to try. Definitely go check her out on Instagram because I am also staying updated on when the next batch comes out. Hi, Nicole.
Hi.
I'm so excited we get to do this.
I'm so excited we get to do this too. Thank you so much for thinking of me.
Yes, and I'm so excited to learn about your background. So if you can give a bit of your introduction, we can get started.
Yeah. So my name's Nicole. I work at Dolce Vita. I'm the director of influencer marketing and events. And I've been at Dolce Vita for almost 8.5 years. And I started my career working in production. So I was a sample coordinator. And at that time, Dolce Vita was in Seattle. And I started we would get these TOPs, which is like top of production, and we would review them. That was my job. And I saw that we would put them on this wall and buyers would be able to take them home after their meetings. And I saw this opportunity. This was 5 years ago, and influencer marketing was just starting to get big. And I was like, we should start gifting.
Yeah.
And so I just took that on. And then the company relocated to New York, and I took on an office manager position that was really just supporting the head of marketing. Then I started to really continue to add onto my plate doing this gifting. And then I started the influencer program at Dolce Vita. And from there, I started to get involved. I would do set design also, since I was supporting Riche.
Yeah.
She does all of our pretty much trade shows, operations, and stuff like that. I got into set design because we would would do these like huge booth build outs. And so between those kind of like two parallels of starting with the gifting as well as the set design, it brought me into this role of doing events. So it happened really fast, but I created my role. So I would say now I do a little bit of everything that I love, which is very special and I love it.
That's amazing. And so when did Dolce Vita begin?
So Dolce Vita, I think we're at 27 years. We've been around for years. Yeah. I think what's so interesting is how the company culture has, for the most part, stayed intact. The business really started through wholesale and boutiques, which is interesting because I feel like you don't hear about the companies that have been around for a long time, how they started. And I think there was a guy named Nick and Van, and they were such a big part of the company culture. And when I started, I heard all the stories and this evolution of everything. When COVID happened, we did a little bit of a rebrand. And I think that's what with a lot of these companies. A Coach is a big one for me, I think, that I think about a lot.
Coachtopia was huge.
Yeah, Coachtopia. And I think Dolce Vita had a kind of a rebirth as well, especially like we didn't have a marketing team up until like really, I would say 8 years ago. Like it was. And so when the power of, I think, influencer marketing as well as just marketing in general, I think our account after being around for what, like that long when we didn't have a marketing team, only had like 90K followers. And now we're at like 500,000. But like, that's a lot. That's a lot of growth. And so I would attribute that to the past kind of 5.5 years of us actually like working on the influencer marketing as well as just marketing in general.
Absolutely. And I'm so excited to ask you more about how you've seen the influencer landscape change, growth marketing in general. I know you do a lot of events too, and that creator community space, how that's developing and where you think it'll go. But we got into a little bit of how you got to Dolce Vita, but did you think you would be working in fashion? Did you always want to work in fashion, or did you kind of just happen to be here?
Oh my goodness. So when I was in college, I worked at Nordstrom. I went through like their leadership program. Like I totally knew I was interested in fashion. And I think something that I learned about myself was that I really needed to do something that I was passionate about to be successful. Like I needed to have some interest in it. So when I first graduated college, I started working in tech. And that was, if you know me, that's a trip. And yeah, I was working at DocuSign. I love DocuSign, but I was working as an SDR. I was cold calling and I just didn't feel fulfilled. And then I worked on a farm and I was like working for
Did you like woof or
like
work away?
I love children. So I was being like a household manager for this family. And my friend actually called me because she worked at Dolce Vita and she was like, I'd let her know, like, hey, if there's anything that ever opens, like, I've been a fan of the brand for years. I wore it all through college. Like, I loved it. And so she called me and she's like, hey, there's this opportunity. And I also like knew I wanted to live in New York and they had an office here. So it was just part of my plans, but I didn't really expect for it to unfold this way. I definitely think that fashion is something that I've always been interested in, but I didn't know quite how I was going to get there.
I love your lore. Tech, farm. I've also worked on a farm. And
It
people are like,
builds
what?
grit. It builds grit. Like, I actually think there's something to be said about just like work ethic and being on a farm.
Hard
It is
labor.
hard.
Yeah.
It's no joke.
No, that's really funny. I didn't expect for
Yeah.
that to come up today. Okay, anyways, shoes. Also, Dolce Vita shoes are so comfortable.
I know.
I have a pair of brown boots I think I got when I was like 16, and I still wear them all the time.
Yeah,
They're like my go-to.
we really pride ourselves, I feel like, in comfort. I think
Yeah.
that's a huge selling point for us is like the comfort, stuff that you can wear like for everyday use as well as being able to just wear them to any occasion. I think like our shoes, we have such an array of shoes on our website and there's kind of something for everyone, which is I think something that's kind of part of our brand identity and being inclusive and making sure that there are styles that I kind of think of it as like your mom could wear it, but also you could wear it.
Yeah. Your younger sister could wear it too.
Yeah.
100%. And so on the marketing side, how have you seen influencer marketing from the very beginning when they were like a couple OG creators, like maybe We Wore What or Song of Style, to now there's a lot of like micro creators. Like I feel like everybody in a sense is an influencer,
Mhm.
and people are really seeing the value of someone being an influencer in their friend group, right? And
Mhm.
traveling word of mouth. How has your strategy and kind of the influencer economy changed in your
Yeah.
perspective?
So I believe that everything we always go back in time. Like think about
Mhm.
fashion, like trends, they repeat itself. I think when you think about the start of influencer marketing, it really was blog focused. Like everyone was writing blogs. I think of like Devin Bregman and like Tosh Oakley. They own Monday Swimwear. They had, I think it was a bikini a day, and they started with their blog. And then now you're seeing Substack come back around. And that's really where people are like trying to find different ways to connect and be able to talk about things. Because when I first started in influencer marketing, this was new. Like, think about Instagram, how Instagram was formatted. It was supposed to be instant. Like, you post a picture and it's a really quick way to share content. Now we're in a more curated format of content. And so I think that with all these changes, you're seeing also a lot of people get onto the platform. And I think before it used to be a lot of core people on there where it was like everyone knew the same people. Whereas now there's so many niches of
Yeah.
people. And I'm super into niche things. Like I love a niche, like everything. I think that kind of we can get into that with like events, but like niche is definitely something that I think is most relatable because it's specific people enjoy that. And so I think what I'm seeing a lot of is there's all different types of influencers now that different people can relate to. With that being said, I think there's this fatigue in a way of content because there's now so much content on there and the originality of some of the content isn't as pure as it used to be. I think you used to be able to look to those core influencers as they started something and then like other people now copy
Yeah.
it and now you don't know who the original person was. I think also like copying is the biggest form of flattery. So I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily, but I do think like there's so much content out there that it's a lot to navigate, I would say. So with Dolce Vita, the approach that we've taken, I still try to make it as personalized as possible. We spend a lot of time meeting influencers in person. That's something that has always been built into our strategy. Relationships and community is huge. And so we're constantly doing research. I use Instagram as a search engine all the time. I think there's a lot of platforms now that brands have to figure out how to like tap into their core markets. And I think for us, it's like really manual. I really like push our team to really be searching on Instagram. You can do this thing where you do suggested on influencers and it kind of will populate like people. And I think that's something that I really use to hand curate who we're working with.
And do you look for certain, I know some people are like all about engagement. They don't really care about followers versus some brands are like, honestly, we just need awareness. Like we just need as many people to even know we exist as possible. Other people are like, I want the person who only talks about
Mhm.
X thing and it's super, super niche. What have you guys done? 'Cause especially in New York, I feel like there's a group of like core New York influencers who I think a lot of brands want to work
Mhm.
with because it's like a friend group vibe. Oh, so what has been some of Dolce Vita's strategy and how has that changed over the past 8 years?
Yeah, I think we work with all different types of people. Like we work with all the New York girls. We also work with small creators. I think when I think about who we're curating for our paid budget, I want all different types of people. It's usually people that I want wearing our brand.
Yeah.
That's where usually we put our paid budget is who is it that maybe doesn't know about the brand and how can we get them talking about it? I also look at it as community leaders. So there's a lot of people that I think have a lot of influence in their specific communities. And that's how I navigate it is figuring out who are those key people in their community and how can we get their friend group wearing the product. I think our gifting strategy as well is like pretty robust. It's a loose rule, but I want people to be wearing the product before we're just doing a paid partnership with them.
Yeah.
That's really important to me. I want to make sure that it's authentic because I think you can tell when something's an ad. You can tell when someone doesn't actually like the brand. And it's really hard to navigate as a brand because you're like, oh, I love that person. I want you to wear this. But like, if they don't organically post about it ever, it's going to feel weird for both audiences.
Yeah.
So we try to we start everything with gifting. And then from there, if it's something that feels right, we'll end up working with them. But going back to your point about engagement and like, what do we care about? I think I care the most about engagement. I think follower count is like a little bit overrated because what I'm seeing is like a lot of these micro girls, they have a way more engaged audience than someone with a million followers. Like, I think people traditionally look at reach when really that doesn't mean that someone's engaging with the content and they're actually like invested in it. So that's been something that's been really important for us. I will also say, like, a category of influencers that I'm super excited about, and I feel like it's definitely something that's been growing, is retired fashion girlies. Like, I think that there is these people, there's something that you can tell, like, when someone's had a job outside of just being a full time creator, there's this understanding of the business side of it in the sense of like what it's like to work on the brand side.
Yeah.
And I think that makes such a difference because you can tell that they're aware of like what a brand might be looking for. Or there's some girls that really convert because people are really invested in their journey going from working in fashion or working in this other career. I feel like
Yeah,
there's like this
totally.
level of trust that comes between those types of influencers and their community and audience.
Yeah. I love that pipeline too. Of like a girl works in corporate fashion in New York and then becomes an influencer. You
Right?
just kind of see her go through that journey.
Yeah.
You're like rooting for them. Like I had Style with Soko on the podcast and
Yeah.
she worked at Bloomingdale's. So
She was great.
yeah, especially if you're working a corporate job, you can just see yourself more in that person. It's
Yeah.
like, no, I need a shoe I can wear for 9 hours
Mhm.
every single day at my job.
Yeah, and I think it's like a different level of aspirational because I think that going back again to your question before, like how has this changed over the
Mhm.
years? I think that it's accessible. People are realizing that, hey, I can create content and I can make money off of this and I can just really showcase my lifestyle. So being able to see women and different
Yeah.
people that have been able to do that, I think is really inspiring to people. And it's really interesting to see everyone's different take on it
Yeah.
because it's
Exactly.
a little bit different than just the traditional content that we've been seeing.
Yeah. If someone's listening to this and they're like, oh my God, I would love to work with Dolce Vita, what would they need to send you? Like, is it a rate card? Is it engagement? A question I've always thought about too is there like some sort of internal platform that you guys can see people's like engagement, like the ghost metrics of like, you can see, anyone can see followers, but you can't really see the engagement number
Yeah.
behind the scenes. Cause I'm like, what if someone lied?
My
Hopefully they don't,
biggest,
but
yeah,
like,
my biggest thing is don't hide your likes.
yeah.
I think that's a thing. I don't like when people hide their likes because I'm
True.
like, listen, I think it's about being just authentic.
Yeah.
I think that's what I really look for. And when, not saying no shame to hiding likes at all, but I will say that like if someone's coming to me and I'm looking at, okay, I can't obviously see that information. And a lot of these platforms that they're hiding their likes, we can't see it on the back end. So that's fine. But I think like what I look for when someone's reaching out to me, I like a casual approach. Like I think some people, and I don't want to speak for everyone in the industry, like, but I like someone just reaching out and being like, hey, I would love to work with you.
Mhm.
Or like offering to do UGC content before. Like if you're a smaller creator, let's just say, and you have really strong content, I'll sometimes give someone with 5,000 followers.
Yeah.
2,000 followers because they have really strong content and that's something that we may want to use on our brand page. So I think my advice is don't be afraid to reach out. We do see messages that come through. I think that it's sometimes when you send a rate card right away, it makes it, there's a lot of
Yeah.
other steps before just going straight into paid. And I think that that's something that is a balance because sometimes you got to put the work in first before you're going to get to the paid. And I think that has been something that's also shifted in the past couple of years as people having this expectation of not having it be a partnership.
Mhm.
It's sort of like, I think that's how it's worked the whole time is like we support you and you support us. And I think
Yeah.
starting the relationship with creating content and showing what you can do and showing like, and then from there, it's a lot easier conversation to be like, hey, it's time to now
Yeah.
explore that.
No, that's, I think, really good advice to maybe even someone like if they already own a pair of Dolce Vita shoes, like just start making, like add it in a little video, maybe throw in a tag and just show like, I genuinely use this rather than just being like, I would like $1,000. Like,
Well, we have an ambassador program. So we do like Listen, we also like want to make sure you're rewarded. But what we can do is if you post, there's like a posting structure where you pretty much get site credit to be able to use towards a new pair of Dolce Vita shoes. So if you are a customer of ours and you are wearing the product, I definitely encourage you to get involved in our ambassador program because that's something that we're working to grow
Yeah.
and figure out ways to get more involved with the community.
Yeah, I'll link that in
Yeah, link the ambassador
episode
program.
notes. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, we talk about it. I think it's like there's so much going on all the time that sometimes like we use our close friends often too with ambassadors. So like once you get into our ambassador program, you get added to our close friends and we do like specific giveaways and like
Mhm.
special things on there. So it's definitely worth if you want to work with Dolce Vita, I would say that's probably one of the closest ways if you don't have a lot of followers, like
Yeah.
to get involved.
Did you ever think about yourself becoming an influencer, like being on the back end or no?
Okay, I don't wanna be an influencer. I would love to have, like, an industry following and, like,
Yeah.
have people that obviously like my work or wanna just, like, networking and
Mhm.
connecting, but I don't think I have it in me to do content every single day. I think that's something when I think about hot takes, fashion hot takes,
Oh,
like
yeah.
like,
Being
I think
working.
being an influencer is really hard,
Yeah.
and that's coming from someone that, like, travels with these girls, puts on events, like,
Mhm.
these girls are working nonstop, like, they taking content is really hard.
It is like the edit, like there's a lot of steps to take for sure. It's not just like post it.
Yeah, no,
You're
like,
funny.
these girls, I think the whole allure is to make it look effortless, that
Yeah.
it's supposed to feel organic, but to make something feel organic and to get those moments is not easy.
Yeah.
So I would say, no, I'm not trying to be an influencer, but like if it happened, okay, like I'm sure, I don't know if I'd be a traditional one.
Yeah. You're like, I'm open to brand partnership.
I'm open to brand partnerships. So you want to send me product, I'm fine with that. But
Because I've just seen on TikTok too, the girls who are, they're like, oh, I work in influencer marketing at X company. And like, this girl's getting paid my yearly salary for one post. And they're like, I'm going to become an influencer instead. And like, then that's a whole nother like pathway you see too. But then I think there's people who are like, no, I could not do it. Like,
well, listen, there's so many ways. Like if I built my platform, I would want to use it to be able to still do my passion. Like I love
Mhm.
doing events. I love building community. I love my job. And so I just want to make sure whatever I did still had an element that kept
Yeah.
me inspired. So if that was being an influencer, great.
Mhm.
But I don't, as of now, I'm not like, I don't even have the time to like we're on these trips, everyone's getting content. I'm like, I am so busy.
Yeah.
That's like the last thing on my list. So I think maybe if I got to a point where I had more support, I probably would have more time to be able to create my own content, but I'm just
Yeah.
not there yet.
Yeah. Maybe you can throw in some behind the scenes every now and then.
Yeah, yeah. No, I post all like our events. Like I post all the time on my Instagram,
Yeah.
but it's just not fashion-based content, I should say.
Yeah. And then I'm not asking for like specific numbers from Dolce Vita or
Yeah.
anything like that, but I'm curious. I think people are sometimes shocked by how much influencers are making and how brands are willing to invest in it. And
Mhm.
the specific example I think of is Hallie Kate, I think in one day bought like a house and a car, and everyone was like, sorry, what? Like, I didn't know you're making this much money from TikTok. And like, I think my hot take is like, I love that all these women are literally becoming like millionaires,
Mhm.
just like living their life. And so I'm like, everyone go do your passion, go become an influencer if you
Yeah.
want to do it. But how have you seen some of the money and like brand investment maybe change? Because I don't know, maybe at the beginning brands were like, oh, this is amazing, and like throwing money, or now they're pulling back. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, first of all, Hallie Kate is like a boss. Like
Yeah.
she's come on a trip with us before. Like we support her. I think like she does a lot of organic stuff for us. I gotta be
Yeah.
honest. And I think I really respect her in that sense, is that I think the brands that she does work with, she is definitely being intentional about that. I will say that Dolce Vita specifically, I think we do not do these huge like 50K partnerships, which I
Yeah.
think a lot of brands are investing that kind of money. I think we're actually probably on the lower end. But I think that when there are people that can show conversions, that's where like Hallie Kate converts. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, whatever she's creating, whatever she's selling, it makes sense. I think there's also like something that our strategy has been is like, hey, we may not be paying you like these because there's rates, right?
Mhm.
So people have rate cards and you can always negotiate. But then we also allow commission. So like we're on Shop My. That's been something that we just just introduced this past year as a way to automate our gifting, but then it turned into this whole other thing of affiliate. It's been really successful. So with some of these partnerships, we do allow them to still make commissions. So sometimes you can like even it out where it's like, hey, if you're selling, that's your money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So something that I think would be really interesting to share is how we structure how we get content. Because I think we do it in a unique way. I'm not sure how other like most of my career has been at Dolce Vita.
Yeah.
But what we built there is we have like kind of 3 different buckets of how we get content. So we do a lot of mini photo shoots with our social teams. So when we go on a trip, we take a lot of our own content. We also do like mini photo shoots with the girls on the trips. So that's something that how we get the content to kind of pad us. We then have our organic gifting, that's where we get all of this like UGC content. I think there's like this unwritten thing. If you're getting gifted, post it.
Yeah.
And then we have our paid budget where we get all of that content. And then we also have a content creation program that's run by my teammate. And she pretty much gets all of our like content that from like creators, photographers, that is actually the content that we use for ad usage or like ads and like things for our wholesalers and all of that. And then we have our photo shoots. So then we have a team that goes and does like high res, like more editorial style content. So there's like, I guess it's 5 bucket ways that we're getting content. So I would say I don't think of our paid budget as it's more brand awareness. That's our goal with that budget versus it being the need for content.
Yeah.
Whereas I think some brands are set up differently where they actually need content for their page and they're relying on that, which is, we used to do it that way when we were just getting started with influencer marketing. We were gifting because we needed content.
Yeah.
But I think we have a lot of content that we have coming in. So we're very lucky in that regard.
Yeah. No, I think that strategy is really interesting to hear and probably helpful for other brands
Yeah.
getting started too, because the content is a huge piece of it.
Outsource, outsource, outsource. Find your girls, find your guys, find whoever of who you think creates really strong content and then have them create it for you. Because I think another hot take, social media managers are some of the hardest working people on the team. And I feel like, don't get enough credit.
Yeah.
Like our social media manager, she goes to everything. She's with me with the events, photo shoots, her own shoots, and like she's a one-man show. So I think when you outsource that, you need that support because it's too much for just one person to do or 2 people. You need different angles. And I think that's what also creates diversity in content.
Yeah. No, it is. Sometimes companies that don't understand it, it's like 5 job roles in one person. They're like, why isn't this doing well? And they're like, I'm so overworked.
Yeah.
Like,
I know. And I think that a lot of people in fashion can relate to that. I think that we don't talk about how it gets created and how these things come to fruition because people just see it. It looks pretty.
yeah.
You're like,
And
oh.
a lot went into that. Yeah. And so a lot of this content comes from events. I know that's a big part of your role too. I've been on events before. They're hard to do. It's so much work.
Yeah.
What is your process? The events always look beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, events are actually my favorite part of my job. I will say events are really a lot of work. It actually takes up a lot of my time. How we approach the events is we usually do a spring and a fall brand trip, and then we have these mini events in between. I will say really where the idea comes from is really the collection. So what I'll do is I'll take a look at what the collection is. I'll chat with my team and we'll figure out, okay, where are good locations that would fit in with what the product is. I also think about trending places. Where are destinations that I want to travel to? Like I know I feel like I know what's going on. I try to figure out, okay, if I was someone, what would be worth traveling for? And so when we pick our locations, that's usually what I think about. I think something also that we've really, really tried to hone in on is making our brand trips intentional.
Yeah.
I think there's also there's a lot of discourse about what is an intentional brand trip, right? And I think about our brand pillars and we really try to make sure that I think this year we've really focused on making sustainability a big part of the trip, as well as inclusivity and culture. I think we really think about places that have a lot of culture and how can we not take from that, but actually observe it and give back and find ways to get involved with showcasing it in a way that's impactful. We just went to Oaxaca. I don't know if anyone saw that, but we stayed at a sustainable hotel, which I think was something really different for a brand to do. I think everyone's used to these luxe hotels, but like,
Yeah.
let me tell you, like when the sun went down, we had a flashlight and we were like walking through, walking through the dark. And like, it was interesting. We kind of like flipped it with like the influencers of being like, hey, like we're going to go and we're going to like, I don't want to say we roughed it at all. We were at a 5-star hotel, but like, I think figuring out ways to tie that back to our messaging. We also give back, we offset all of our flight costs. So we work with an organization called One Tree Planted. So we find ways to like plant trees to give back with the emissions that we're doing when we travel. I also think who comes on the trip is a big thing for me. I don't want to see the same people on the same trips. So like I think Dolce Vita doesn't get a lot of credit sometimes for that because it's literally different demos, it's different people, but the trips that I feel the most proud of are the ones that have diversity, have different types of people, have different types of creators. And I think that's what kind of comes through on the trips when you're there is that people are meeting different people and it's an actual networking event for them to meet creators that maybe they aren't always in the same room with.
I love hearing all about that. And it does feel way more intentional and different than I think the ones that you get blasted on social media, for example.
Yeah, we did a vlog too.
Oh.
So, and something that this is what I was most excited about for the Oaxaca trip was we did a trip vlog from the lens of the team.
Oh.
And we talked through a lot of these elements because we want people to know why we're on this trip. It's not just about content. And I also like when I'm thinking about influencers that come on the trip, I want to bring people that are going to appreciate what we have planned because there is this cultural element. Like we went to this museum called Casa Wabi while we were there, and that was we were in Puerto Escondido, and like I want people to put their phone down and I want them to listen and I want them to absorb and understand why we traveled to this place versus to me, it's not always about the content. It is actually about brand trips are an opportunity for you to connect with the brand and build a relationship because I think that relevancy is really hard to maintain. And when you have relationships with brands, we got you when you're down, you got us when we're down. And I think that it's going back to that thing of a partnership of like really having community. And that's what our trips are really meant to do.
Totally. And not just chasing like a viral moment.
No. Like I would way rather, and if my manager is watching, no, but like I would way rather have people sit at that table at dinner and talk to each other, talk to the brand and build a relationship than having their phone out the entire dinner because it's not always about that moment. That's going to happen. You know what I mean? And so it's like sometimes I think there is this like that is something I've seen really shift with this younger generation is like people will be on their phone sometimes the whole dinner and I'm like, wait, why are you on your phone? Like we're like talking like TikTok, which is like so crazy for me to probably say. But I really think that's something that like I would recommend if you are someone like is at a networking event or you're at somewhere like be present and absorb these moments because you never know who you're talking to or like you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. No, that's refreshing, I think, to hear.
Yeah.
We should all go watch the vlog, but what is it like being a team member on a brand trip? So I think these are work. You're in a beautiful location, but like
I always have to defend myself with this because like most of the company thinks I'm on vacation and listen, that's what my job is to do. I'm supposed to make it look like that, but I don't sleep on these trips. It's because I'm so passionate about it and I want to make sure everything goes right. But our team usually travels a day or two ahead and we do a photo shoot before with all product because a big part of it is, I think how I look at it is content is what the value is at this point. When we're looking at our recaps, the content is what is going to show the ROI.
Yeah.
And so we put a lot of time into making sure we're getting content of like product shots and making sure that there's all of that content before the guests arrive. Once the guests arrive, we have to coordinate all of the transportation, all of the travel, make sure everyone gets there. We have to do room drops. We need to make sure that everything is perfect for these girls to be photographing or creating content in. And then from there, we have each event. So what's really big for me, which I think a lot of brands miss, is these girls like having to edit content and take the content is a lot of work. So we really only do like one to two max activities per day on these trips because our trips are usually around like 5 days. So it's making sure that the girls are actually able to enjoy their content and or not the content, but like the actual activities experience, and then as well give them enough downtime to edit and make sure that it's just all a balance.
Yeah.
So I think it's a lot of managing of the girls. And then also the activities and the activations. Something that I really try to do is work with different creators to help with the production of it. I've worked with a gal, Omer Gillany, for the past couple of trips. And that's funny because I honestly found her on Instagram and now she's like one of my best friends, but she's great. And I think like she's been able to like help with a lot of the production stuff for our tablescapes. A lot of our tablescapes that people don't know this, so like they're all pinned on Pinterest. Yeah, it's something that like I take a lot of pride in.
Yeah.
But yeah, like working with people that's their niche is like doing this set design or working on these things to really create easy moments for the girls to just automatically take a photo of. But yeah, like I think it's a lot of just production work.
And that's your background. I think that's like a perfect tie-in.
It works. It makes a lot of sense as to why I'm doing this. But yeah, I think the events are on top of all of this other stuff. You then have the social element. So I spend a lot of time with our social media manager after each night. We have to then go through all of the content and then we have to put the story together and we have to make sure that everything's going live. So I think there's a lot of strategy that goes into this that people don't know, because taking a photo, but then it's like there's so much content from these trips. How do you then create a storytelling moment where your followers understand it? And I think that that's something that like we really try to do. And I think I would say in the past year, we're like, okay, this is because everyone's now doing events.
Yeah.
It's not just like one person, like one brand. Like we did our first brand trip a few years ago back to Italy, and like we did it for like 10 days. I did not come back the same person. That was wild. I would never do that again. But like, I was like, oh, everyone wants to go. If you're going to Europe, like you go for 10 days. Like, and that was crazy. I think all the girls, like the ones that stuck by me on that, they were like, it was fun. Like you could do whatever. Like we had free days and stuff. But like, I will say that like the shorter, like in terms of how long you do it is also like important. It's like, there's like this sweet spot of like having it be shorter.
Yeah. Events are hard. Like I've been there and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a lot of work. Do you have certain tips or top things you're like, you need to have this locked in, that don't do this thing? Like, what have you learned?
I'm a perfectionist. And I think I think a lot of people that are in events want it to look perfect, right? So my biggest kind of advice is set the expectation that not everything is going to go perfect and as planned. I have never done an event where everything went off without a hitch. Like there's always one thing that's like off.
Yeah.
And so I think level setting and just being patient with yourself and your team that, hey, not everything's going to go as planned, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is just like when you're thinking about where you're going, making sure that you have all the resources that you need to make it flow. Sometimes I think when picking venues, like for hotels or things, the more amenities that something has, the better, because you're going to need support on these trips, especially if you're going international. So making sure that that's all in line. And I would also say is making sure that you are level setting with your team what the expectations are so that everyone owns a different part of it, because you can't do it all. So making sure that you're laying that out ahead of the trip is really something that's been helpful for me and my team.
Totally. And you mentioned outsourcing tablescapes. I think that is a really cool way to involve local people, especially if you're doing an event in like New York and it's a dinner, and that could be like an artist to make menus or a photographer, the tablescape, someone to make dessert. How are you finding those artists, creators? Like people have like a niche talent that is their business. Because I think that's another element of people who listen, and I want to get like your perspective on of how they can stand out to you, or
Mhm.
should they DM you and be like, I make amazing like mini cakes. Can I do your next event?
Yeah. Oh my God, I would love that. So that's how I would describe myself. I'm a curator.
Mm,
I love to direct. I love to get everyone who is the expert in what they do and bring them together. And I think that's what makes our events really special. I find a lot of people through Instagram. I'm always like, if I have something that I'm looking for, I've usually archived it or saved it.
mm,
Like, I'm always doing research about different things in the event space. I would say I would always love to be DM'd if there's something that someone does that's niche. I'm all about niche. So I think that every element of the event should come together with someone that's something special. And that's something when I think about Dolce Vita's pillar of community, that's something that I take very seriously. And I try to make sure that I'm supporting the people that are in my community. And when an opportunity comes about, I know, hey, I can work with this person because they're really great at that. So I think my advice around that would be, don't be afraid to put yourself out there and let someone know, hey, I do this,
yeah.
because the opportunity may not be available at that moment. But I can't even count on my fingers how many times I've circled back to that person that reached out, or that person that I met in person
Mhm.
that was like, hey, I do this. And it's because it's now the right timing.
Yeah.
I think timing is everything.
I use Instagram the same way, I think, as you, and
Mhm.
I'll either screenshot or save something, and I'm like, for a later date, like, this person's really talented at this one thing, like, I can't do it right now, but later I wanna
Mhm.
work with them, and I think treat Instagram as, like, a portfolio or a website
Mhm.
if you have a business, so
100%. I definitely use Instagram probably the most out of anything.
yeah.
Like, I think how I describe it is, your Instagram is your resume.
Mhm.
And I think that that doesn't mean it needs to be so curated to the point where it's not
Yeah.
you, or it doesn't feel like you're being authentic. Be authentic and post what you're about, because I think that's how brands are finding people, is through Instagram.
100%. Do you have any other tools you use for influencer marketing or content or events that beyond Instagram? I know that's like your main one, but anything else that's helpful?
So we use ShopMy. ShopMy is something that we introduced this past year, and it's been really helpful to help organize our influencer program. We also use Dash Hudson, which is a platform that we also use for our relationship management. Those two platforms, those are stuff that we've invested in
Mhm.
corporately. So I don't know if everyone has access to that.
When you're putting on events, is that just like a Google Doc, or do you have certain elements that you're like, oh, we actually use this insane tool?
Yes. So Google
Yeah.
Sheets, Google Presentation. I love Canva.
Yeah.
Canva is, I think when I think about when I'm getting ready for an event, making a mood board is really big. And this was something that I learned early on in my career, is that not everyone can read my mind.
Yeah.
And not everyone is going to see what my vision is. And so the more articulate I can get with visual examples and being able to show people what I am imagining, that's completely changed my workflow. When I'm starting an event, I make a deck that kind of starts with what I want, what the vision is, what the direction is, and then from there we collaboratively work as a team with whoever I'm working with to build that out. So each different detail of the event is in there.
Yeah.
And so that helps to keep me organized, because something that, if you've been on a Dolce Vita trip or you've seen it, there's so many curated elements to it. I make sure that like everything is intentional, and ties back to whatever that theme is. So I have to keep it organized somewhere, and I need to make sure that it's being like understood
Yeah.
by all of the team so that we can speak to it, or there's moments that I definitely want photographed for social, that it's all in there.
Totally. I also love hearing that your main tools are like Google Docs and Instagram, because they're so just like available to anyone. I remember someone's like, "What do you use?" And I was like, "My notes app."
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing crazy. Like, I'm not using anything crazy.
Yeah. No, I like notes too.
Yeah,
Notes is
I don't know
great.
why, but that's like what I use for almost everything. Okay, a little bit of a shift. If someone's listening to this and they're like, I want to work in the job that she has, obviously been doing this for 8 years, a lot of work has gone into it. What are some steps someone could start taking right now?
So I think where I would start first is think about what type of company you want to work for. I think there's definitely different parts. Like if you want to work in influencer marketing, what are your dream brands? Who do you like? What would stimulate you? What product do you want to work with? And then from there, I would reach out and figure out who works at the brand. I would reach out to them and I would say, hey, can I pick your brain? Put your name in the bucket and figure out a way that you can test and see if this is something that you're interested in. I think what I hear from a lot of people that graduate and are trying to switch careers is I just don't know how to get started.
Yeah.
And so I think that by networking and really just asking people questions, that can be just such a relief to know, hey, like this may align with me, this may not. And so I would say one is just thinking of your dream company list of who you would aspire to work with, and then start figuring out how to just network with the people that are involved with that. The other thing would be not being afraid to start at a company in a position if you really love that company. Like I, for instance, with Dolce Vita, I didn't necessarily know what I wanted to do. I was working in production. I took an office manager role. Like I did a lot of different things there. And if the company will promote within, there's always opportunities to then switch paths within the company and get your foot in the door. So sometimes it's just being open to trying anything and then from there letting it do its course.
Yeah. I think that's really good advice. And you've been at Dolce Vita for 8 years. Like, clearly it's like a good company culture that you enjoy.
Yeah, no, I love Dolce Vita. I think when I go back to the founders, I mean, it's so funny because people say it's a red flag. It's like, we're like family. Have you seen that before? But I genuinely enjoy the people that I work with. I travel. I was telling you earlier, I'd been traveling for this entire month. And I wouldn't want to do that with people that I don't enjoy. And so I take that like very serious about like who our team is and building a team that is people that I want to be around, because I think you spend more time with your coworkers than you do with like a partner or friends.
I was about to say that. I was like, honestly, like, is it cheesy to say family? Sure. But like, you
Yeah.
probably spend more time with them than your own family.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So I think like I really try to keep what, was the culture of Dolce Vita. I really try to maintain that as much as possible.
100%. You're traveling this whole month. Do you have like travel tips for anyone or like little packing hacks?
Packing hacks. I have a routine.
Okay. What is it?
I open my suitcase. I plan out all my outfits. I try not to overpack, but I always have like one or two outfits that could fit in, like if I'm not feeling the other one. And then I make a list and to make sure I don't forget something, because the one time that I didn't do that, I forgot my makeup. Yeah. And I went to this event. I'm like all ready to go to like grab my makeup. I'm like, where is my makeup? So like I am just a true and tried. Like I am writing everything down. So I would say that. I also feel like electrolytes are really important. I feel like when you're flying, to keep yourself hydrated, and then also like vitamin C. It sounds silly,
No,
but
these
it's
are
like
the niche things people need to do.
Yeah, like I love lysospheric vitamin C. That's like if someone's sick, I'm like, you need lysospheric vitamin C.
See, that's your future brand partner. Right?
Yeah, I know. Symbotica.
Yeah, exactly. Because I travel quite a bit for work too. And so I'm always like, I know I could be doing this better.
Yeah. I think like I don't have global entry, which I need to get, but like I have clear, like little things like that make it a lot easier.
Yeah.
And also like sticking to one airline. I am a sucker for status on airlines, and I don't have like a credit card. I do it all through my miles. And I think sometimes it makes more sense to just stick on one airline.
What airline?
I do Delta.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I like Delta because of New York. I feel like they have a hub here. But picking an airline, because then you get status and you get like free bags.
No, that is smart. There's a lot of little things that you can do, I feel like, for travel that once you do it, you're like, how did I live without this?
I know. I'm like, oh my God, I need my status for next year. I'm like, I'll take another flight.
Like my portable charger changed my life.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. And I used to have one that like sticks to the back of your phone, but it would always like fall off, or like it would so easily come out of place. And then I'd be like, oh, actually my phone hasn't been charging this entire time. Then I got one that actually plugs in, and like I take it with me everywhere.
Oh,
like everywhere. And Anyway, side note there. We got your hot take. We got your resource was Instagram.
Yes.
Do you have any upcoming announcements for Dolce Vita?
Yeah, so we actually are opening a store in Southampton this
Ooh.
summer. So we're doing a little tour there, and we are partnering with a brand called Down the Street.
Mm.
Two female founders that pretty much what they do is they source and curate art collections that's attainable at all different price points. And we have been working with them to decorate our entire store with all vintage items because we want it to be sustainable. So instead of just buying all new furniture, we've been working to curate it and we're really excited. And if you guys don't know about Down the Street, they'll be having a pretty much like creating a gallery where people can come and shop the collection and they can buy this art. But what's really cool is like the price point is like $100 to 400 and it's all different art pieces. And I think like they are super niche. I found them on Instagram and I love them both. They're amazing. And I think it will be really cool this summer if you guys are out in the Hamptons to come check it out. We can drop the dates on well, they'll be all dropping on our Instagram soon, but
That's so fun.
really
Is it the whole
excited.
summer?
So it's going to go up until July. So the first event is for Memorial Day. And then we have an event in June and then July.
Okay.
So we'll be posting about it on our socials, but I'm really excited about it because this is like, it's this whole idea of community and like supporting women and making sure that like people that like these uncovered brands are getting kind of a spotlight.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, we love spotlighting small creators, different people who are really great at what they do and stuff that's unique. I think something that I've been feeling is that everything is so saturated.
Mm.
Like every brand is doing events. Every brand is working with influencers. Every brand is doing similar things. So I think our challenge as brands is to figure out how do you do things that are different?
Mm.
How do you do things that are impactful? And how do you do things that people want to actually come to?
And that sounds like a great event.
Right? You got to come.
Yeah. Very up my alley.
Yeah.
And it does feel like you guys really do try to engage with sustainable practices that make sense for you as a brand. Like I know you have Revita, I think it's called.
Yeah.
You can trade in, or I guess just like honestly sell old stuff or buy something secondhand.
Yeah, so we have Revita, and I think like a big thing for us is sustainability transparently is a really tough thing to tackle, especially in the shoe industry.
Yeah.
And so we actually just launched a shoe that's like a 3D shoe. Yeah, it's called the Hollis, but it's something that we're really trying to figure out ways to make our shoes more sustainable. And I think how we've approached it is really just trying to incorporate different elements into our shoes that have sustainable features to be on a path towards full sustainability. But that goes full circle, right? Like it's also our events. Like how are we reusing our items? How do we make sure that things aren't just going to waste? Because like we just did an event in Toronto and like florals. Like think about that. What happens to those florals after these like huge activations? And so what we did is we actually cut down the flowers at the table was part of like, it was almost like felt interactive.
Yeah.
And then our guests got to take it home. And I think finding those little things that really associate associate with sustainability, because I think it goes a little bit further than just the product too. It's about what are we doing as a whole to make sure that everything that we're doing is thinking about sustainability.
Totally. I can imagine it's so tricky for brands to navigate because at least as a consumer, I'm like, just don't lie.
Yeah,
'Cause
greenwashing.
sometimes it's like, oh, this is 80% recycled materials. And then you find out it's like literally all just the tag of the garment and it was nothing in the garment. I'm like, just tell me that the tag is recycled.
Yeah.
Don't lie. Like
Greenwashing is the thing. And I think we've been working with a strategist on this who actually she has her master's in sustainability and she's really been such a great help for us and I encourage brands to look into if they're struggling with how to be sustainable, working with strategists and working with experts, because I think it's really overwhelming for brands, especially like us who have been around for years, to change how they're doing stuff. And sometimes you need support from outside parties to be able to figure out how to navigate sustainability.
Yeah. And they'll probably have ideas that are unique to your company needs too. Like the florals, I think it'd be so easy to be like, oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's flowers, but really no, like, let's think about it.
Yeah.
What makes sense for your brand.
Yeah, that's been something that's been so helpful working with our strategist to figure out, like with the brand trips, like it was her idea, why don't we offset our flight costs?
Yeah.
And like, it's interesting because a lot of the influencers don't post about it, which I'm like, this is so cool. But like, all we can do is post that on our end. But I think like if I was an influencer, that's something that I would look for in a brand is like, things that I could talk about that are interesting and different because a lot of brands aren't doing that.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. And I know other people that listen to the podcast are like, I have a sustainability background and I don't know how to apply that to a job, or they don't have like a specific sustainability role. But this is, I think, an interesting way that that could be applied is like a consulting, or like maybe their outsourced services for their ideas. Because it sounds like brands, at least Dolce Vita, wants some of those ideas and they're open to it.
Yeah. And I think not being afraid to reach out. I think that's my biggest, like, if I could give one thing is don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to reach out because you never know when someone is like what brands are looking for. And sometimes we're not posting it on our page being like, hey, we need a strategist for this. Or it's sometimes just, I think a lot of brands are also going consultant routes because it's maybe not a full-time job. So like a lot of these niche things brands are actually probably looking for.
Yeah, I think that's great advice.
Yeah.
Well, where can everyone find you?
So my Instagram is at Nicole Reisman, and yeah, follow me.
Amazing. I reached out to you through there. So I feel like if you're a small creator or something, tablescapes,
any type of like niche thing. I always love, I'm looking for someone that does jam. Like it's like always, it's always like, I love chefs. That's also a big thing for me. Food. Pastries.
I do
like anything like that. Anything customizable.
So good at something specific. Like, have you heard of LEG's ice cream?
No.
Oh my God, I feel like you guys would like, she partners with some brands now, but it's this girl with like just a few thousand followers, but she makes homemade ice cream and it's like small batch and she's a flavor of the month.
Wait, yum.
And then I think she partners with like other small food brands and like incorporates it into the ice cream.
Oh my God, I love it.
And she's like the cutest label. I was like, I need to buy some while I'm here. She works with brands and like, I can't wait to try. But
wait, send it over.
No,
I'll find it. Yeah, no, that's the stuff I like. And I love it being local.
Yeah.
I love
I
supporting small
like,
businesses.
In her New York apartment.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Like she's
love.
Hustling.
She's going to pop off. We already know she's going to pop off. Give her a few more months.
Yeah, she'll be big.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.